Welcome to Talking TSM, the Gamehouse's talk show about TSM's LCS team. I'm your host, Robert Haynes, and I'm really excited about today because today is the 1 year anniversary of Talking TSM. Yes, October 26th, I believe, was the very first episode. Technically, I believe it was the 25th, which lines up perfectly with today. Regardless, it is the 1 year anniversary, and you might be thinking, Rob, what are you gonna be doing for this momentous occasion? And well, I guess I can just show you all now. If you're watching on the YouTube channel for the Game House, I am now able to be seen. I have video. I've had video for a long time, but I haven't wanted to use it because this is a podcast. That being said, being able to talk and be able to be seen, I think is going to be really cool. And I've got some other cool things coming later that you all will see. Sadly, if you are in podcasting form only, things aren't going to be really all that different. Not yet, at least. So, I've made a lot of changes. A lot of you do listen, which I am extremely grateful for. And I'm hopeful to make some significant changes. I've been testing some stuff out earlier this offseason, hoping to continue to make those changes over the next 2.5 months or so, before the season really gets started. But for the rest of you who do listen on YouTube or who do watch on YouTube, things are going to be drastically changing. First off, you're going to get to see me this week, at least, in my terrible beard for my what I'm trying to probably do is be Coach Beard from Ted Lasso. Great show, by the way. It's the only reason I've kept this beard so long. Otherwise, it's going to be gone probably next week. But there are going to be some other kind of cool changes that I've been working on in additions and things to this show. And so, with that, I do want to thank you all, though, so much because not only is this the number one TSM podcast, but this is the number one TGH podcast, too. In terms of viewership and listeners, this is definitely our number one show, and it's thanks to all of you. And thanks for your support and just your love of TSM. Over 66 episodes, not over 66. This is the 66th episode. And well over, I think somewhere between 10 and 12,000 viewers and listeners later, this show is going on strong. And I can't thank you all enough because if for nothing else, this allows me to vent about TSM. And, it's just been super fun to get to know so many of you over in the Talking TSM Discord and just to see these, this consistent group of people. And I'm beyond grateful for it. It's been a year since, I decided that I was going to kind of start on this journey of being a TSM guy. Like, I've been a fan, obviously, but really, like, writing and covering and doing the podcast, which the writing's been the tweeting's been good, and so has the podcast. But regardless, I'm stoked. I mean, this is really something that I've loved doing, and I'm going to continue to do, and I'm going to hopefully continue to put out good products, to the show. Now, I will say, I don't have a producer or anything, so and I'm writing a lot. For those of you who don't know, I am a part owner of the Game House as well, so I'm doing a lot of other things. So I'm not always going to have like the super top tier production quality that a lot of other shows have. Maybe one day in the future, but right now, like, this is the best I can do, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So with that, we're going to go to segment 1, which is just a Worlds 2021 update. Really quickly here. Again, brand new slide screen. Ooh, so cool. Very excited about this. On Friday, I'm going to go through the games and we'll do a quick talk about them. Some of you have been really asking for this, and so I wanted to make sure that I did it. So, Worlds 2021 update is Friday. We saw T1 absolutely dismantle Hanwha Life. Chovy looked out of sorts, and realistically, it wasn't really Faker who was doing it all. It was players like Gumayushi, Carey, and Owner who really just stepped up to the plate and played extremely well. And T1 looked like a true threat. Heading into the final four essentially of teams. Saturday we saw EDG and RNG. I just wait. Did EDG win 3-0? I don't. I have that up there, and I don't even know if that's right. Honestly, give me a second. I remember putting it in, but now I'm feeling like I might have entered that incorrectly. Give me a second, guys. Oh yeah, it was a 3-2. I don't know why I have that. I was gonna say, I was like, that doesn't seem right. See, already first mistake. There we go. I accidentally typed it in incorrectly. That's why. All right, making that change now. But either way, EDG 3-2. It was a super close series. I remember watching it on Saturday. EDG really came out strong. I think Scout showed up finally. Viper is still obviously just an absolute animal, and it was a great series. RNG played well, but it wasn't enough. And then Sunday we saw Mad Lions lose to Dam 1 Gaming. I think that series was much closer than a 3-0. They, of course, sadly drew Dam 1. I think if they had drawn anybody other than maybe T1, they probably would have beat them. I still truly believe that Mad, at their peak, are a world's contender, like a world's championship contender. But game 2 they threw. Game 3 they almost came back and won. I think if they win game 2, I think that series is much, much closer than people think. I think it could have gone down to a 3-2 overall, but it didn't. And then we saw just today, the reason why I'm recording this a little bit later than I normally would. Normally you would see it a little bit, just later in general. But C9 and Genji, listen, and this is where I kind of am going to cut back to me now. C9 just did the thing that they did all season, where they were just all over the place. And it drives me up a freaking wall with this team because the talent is there. They are clearly a very good team. But they just couldn't be consistent. And, the first game, they bring out the Yasuo. I really liked their comp. They just never really got it rolling the way that they needed to. And then, in game 2, they also had a pretty nice draft, honestly. And I just think they played it terribly. The Poppy's a great pick, but if Blabber's never on the map, it doesn't matter. You don't pick Poppy to out-farm your opponent. You pick her to gank and be in lane. And they just kept giving up objectives all day. It was just, we're just going to give this up and we're going to give that up. In game 2, I believe it was game 2. It might have been game 1. I don't know. They're all blurring together. But they had a fight for Elder Dragon. And, they just were we're just not going to go fight it. We're just going to keep clearing waves. And it's what are you doing? Why are you not being proactive and taking these fights like you were doing when you made your drive your way all the way into this quarterfinals? They just played scared and just really badly. I was not happy with that performance. It just felt like they didn't really... They had a plan coming into it and they just didn't execute it. And so, with that, the West is out. After 2 0-3s, after having probably arguably their best group stage maybe ever. As a reminder, since we last talked, C9 went 2-4 and barely made it in thanks to tiebreakers, which is great. They technically went 3-4. But 100 Thieves and TL both went 3-3. They both barely missed out. So you could technically say that the West went 9-10, or specifically LCS went 9-10 at groups. That is by far and away the best group stages that I can remember in such a long time. I'd have to go back and look for sure, but it was it was so promising, and I felt like, okay, C9 are going to come out. They're going to really try to represent the West. Mad, yeah, they got a bad draw. They're going to come out and represent the West, and they just didn't. And everybody's like, people are not everybody. People are like, oh, like West versus East is such a bad comparison, blah blah blah. But like, I mean, guys, it's just it is what it is. I mean, these teams are. The East are the only teams that are still there. And 6 out of the 8 teams were from the East. So, and all 4 LCK teams made it. So clearly the LPL is falling off a little bit at least. Their only representative left is EDG. And clearly we were all wrong about EDG because, I mean, yeah, they won the finals, but I really thought that was slightly a fluke on FPX's part. Apparently not. Apparently EDG are the real deal. And they're going to have to prove it. I mean, I'll tell you what, Damwon and T1 look super scary. And then I would say they're in a kind of tier of their own. And then we have EDG and Genji kind of in their own tier too. So it's sad to see the West out. I think I would still encourage you to watch the 2 semifinals games. I think they're going to be really good. And I think, Worlds, as an LCS fan, was a little bit of a letdown. I will be honest too, and I've said this to people, guys. I don't know that TSM would have made it as far as C9. Just gonna be completely honest. I think they played well. I think if they had gotten into Group A, they would have probably gone 1-5. Mainly just because great macro doesn't really matter against really, really good teams. Great macro matters more against teams that aren't as good. And we saw that. I mean, we already saw it. And I think that was the number one thing that TSM had going for them. And so it's going to be interesting to see, what people have to say about the LCS, because it's a mixed bag to a certain degree. Like, they did so well. So well. To end week 2. I mean, week 2 was like a major glow up for the region, and it showed that maybe Europe is the 4th region right now. I'm serious. There's a real world where that's a possibility right now. I mean, C9 were better than Rogue, obviously. Fnatic had their issues. Unfortunately, but 100 Thieves looked better than Fnatic. I don't know if Upset would have made that much of a difference. Obviously, I think with all the other things going on, we didn't get to see Fnatic's full, true form, so I don't know. I would have loved to have seen that one. And then I think TL, they weren't as good as Mad, but TL were really good, honestly. They were one game away, one unfortunate tactical mistakes game away from making it, and they looked really strong. Alfari was super good the whole time. Santorin looked really strong. Jensen played, and you guys know how much I don't really like Jensen all that much, but respect given to him. He played an outstanding series. And when I look at this TSM team, it makes me at least feel a little better about the fact that, like, as the 4th seed, we probably would have done better than people would have thought. I just don't know that we would have had the playmaking to necessarily take us to the next level. The hard carry performances that were needed, seemingly. But at least, the LCS is clearly getting better. I did say a long time ago, I think that this was the best season that the LCS has ever had. I think the teams are really strong. I think the top 6 teams in particular in the LCS can all go toe-to-toe with each other right now. And if these 3 teams that went to Worlds were able to perform well, then that means that these other 3 teams right behind them, specifically, us in TSM, are clearly not super far behind. And so I think another really good year is coming for the LCS, especially with a lot of the changes that I'm anticipating are coming. So, yeah, the West is out of Worlds. I'll still update you guys on what happens in the semifinals, and then we'll get to watch, the finals next week, which will be great. Very excited. You all should definitely watch it. Next Saturday, not this coming Saturday, but the Saturday after, will be Worlds Finals. If I had to predict, I think, let me see. So next Sunday, it's EDG versus Genji and T1 versus Tam1. Oh my God, I was gonna say Tam1 Damwon in T1 we're probably going to make it. I'm going to predict that it's EDG versus Damwon. That is my prediction after watching all these games. And we'll see. I would love to see T1 though. I would love to see Faker at this point. Like I am hardcore rooting for Faker in T1 at this point to make it. That would just be freaking awesome. I really like Umayushi too. I think he's one of the up and coming stars of League of Legends. So yeah, and Viper I think making it would be cool too. So we'll have to see. But it's down to 4 teams. So whew, yeah. All right, on to more pressing news for those of us who are TSM fans. Specifically, we're going to talk about Power of Evil. Power of Evil put out a tweet saying that while he's still contracted by TSM, he is now, he's available to search for options. And most importantly, there is no buyout. And there are a lot of people who are wondering what this means. Okay? So, I'm going to tell you what it means. It means that TSM are willing to give him up for absolutely nothing. Okay? There are a couple reasons behind that. But I want to make it very clear. This does not happen very often, especially for a player of Power of Evil's caliber. Whether you liked Power of Evil on this team or not, which I got absolutely destroyed at different times for thinking that Power of Evil could have been much better on this team than he was last year. And people were like, "Oh, Rob, like, what are you talking about? Like, he's a team fight god and all this other stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, but like, he never really had a lead in lane. The mid lane is supposed to be roaming a lot more. He rarely did that to a great effect, and it really truly was only his team fighting late in the games, and his ability to macro well that made him good, and that's kind of what the whole team was about. So that style wasn't enough for them, regardless of a first place finish overall. And now it looks like he's gone. Like, and the reason is, in my opinion, most likely, one, they don't need the money, so it's gonna give them some. They're gonna be. People are going to like them a lot more for, and they may not get recognition for this, but they are giving him a true opportunity without screwing him in any way to go where he wants to go, essentially. They are going to field offers, and wherever the best offer is for him, again, without a buyout, they will say, okay, you can take Power of Evil now. They are essentially, without releasing him, but allowing him to have his pick of teams, too. And so TSM are trying to be the good guys here. They understand that they're clearly ready to move on from Power of Evil. And so by not requiring a buyout, now I believe they will still have to pay his 1-year contract. I think that's the one thing. And maybe that's part of the reason why they're not making it a buyout. But it's a very clear signal to me. I mean, extremely clear signal to me that Bjergsen is coming back. Now, I could be wrong. They could be looking at an Arya or something else like we talked about, a couple weeks ago. But this is just a clear sign to me that they are making major changes. There have been rumors, a lot of rumors out there, that TSM is blowing up the whole thing. And I still don't know that that's true. I'll be honest with you. I still find it hard to believe that they are going to be able to build much better of a team than what they have with Sword Art, Huni, Spica, and presumably Bjergsen. Now, that being said, there's a lot of movement that is likely to come down in this offseason. There is a lot. And so when I look at what's going on with Power of Evil, I have to assume that this is that he's leaving. I just had his stats up, but like a KDA of 3.9, a kill participation of a 67.9, averaging almost 9 CS per minute. Really solid win rates over his 3 champions, but these were 3 of his 4 champions that we already knew he was very good at. 20 games on Azir. Here, I'll just bring it back up. 20 games on Azir, 55% win percentage, 3.1 KDA. Orianna, 14 games, 71% win percentage, but a 7.6 KDA. I still cannot believe they did not play Orianna more. Syndra, 63.6 win percentage, 4.2 KDA. I mean, listen, the guy doesn't die. He doesn't necessarily win lane, but he makes plays when you need him to. And so it's really hard for me to say that it wasn't worth having him on the team. I mean, he was really good. And I think the only way they get rid of him, especially if he's going to be getting a green card, which means that he's going to have his pick of the litter of where he can go. And there are going to be a lot of places that will want him, regardless of what any TSM fan thinks. There are, I think, teams with different types of players that can work better with him. I just don't know that he and Spica really ever meshed. And you need a strong mid lane, jungle duo to be good in this day and age in League of Legends. And they just didn't seem to mesh well. And that's, it's sad, but that is what it is, And so, with that, I'm going to transition this over here. I think that Bjergsen has to be the guy. I mean, this is just from his last season. All right. KDA of a 5.9, CS per minute, 8.7, comparable, but again, two freaking full kills and assists higher. A little bit higher kill participation. You see his Syndra and his Zillion stats. That Zillion obviously was really good. It didn't win as much as I would have thought. I didn't think it was almost a 50% win percentage. It seemed like it was guaranteed win almost every time he played it. And then his Azir games, we pointed this out, or I kind of recognized this, in 2020. It was weird because he didn't play it badly. It's just the team didn't win as often on it, and I think that comes to, mid lane priority. But, he played 10 other champions multiple times throughout the season. And he won an MVP with these stats. I mean, he is the LCS GOAT, regardless of what anybody says. And so it's hard for me not to feel as though with Power of Evil being gone, Bjergsen likely being there. I mean, my sources have told me that it is still very likely that Bjergsen is coming back. I haven't heard that it's for sure. I've heard, a lot of people stating that they're not 100% sure that he's coming back. I have heard things like 99.9% chance. And things change, but with C9 being gone out of Worlds and Mad being gone from Worlds too, I don't think LCS and LEC teams are going to be really trying to make plays for teams from T1, DAM1, EDG, or Gen G. I just don't really see that being the case. So I expect rumors and stuff to start picking up here very, very, very soon. And, when I am looking at potential options for this team, Bjergsen just seems to make the most sense, especially if he really is coming back to play. Now, there's also a chance he still just decides, screw it, I'm just going to go back and be a coach. But I think he saw, he took the year off, and I think the competitive aspect of him wanted to come back. And we've talked enough probably over the last couple of weeks about Bjergsen, but I mean, guys, this is the key piece to this team. This is what matters most when we're looking at what is going to happen with this team going forward, at least through the 2022 season. And so with Spica obviously still being on this team and Bjergsen likely returning, you have to look at where else are they going to look. Now, the one beautiful thing is that gives you 2 of your 3 players that you need for for your LCS slots, for your NA slots, between, Bjergsen and Spica. So that's great. That's a really good way for us to start off a complete rebuild if that need to be the case. If they decide to keep Huni, which again, I personally think you should, that gives you all 3 players, and that means that you can use both of your, both of your international slots there, to pick up pretty much whoever you want. And it's interesting because things have started to move around. I had been told, I think this was even before the LEC Wooloo tweets, that there's apparently a hiccup with TSM2 Reckless. Now, I can't say that's a huge surprise. From what I'm being told, Reckless is still, not out of the picture at all with TSM, but there's some sort of negotiation hiccup, whether it's with him or with G2. I think it's likely with G2 because I think they might try to keep Reckless, although there's a lot more options out there, which I will go over here in a second. But I'm being told that Hansama, arguably the best European player at Worlds this season, and a player who's been extremely good for Rogue for the last couple of years and Misfits and everywhere else in the EU that he's played, is now looking like another potential option. And this is not the first time I've heard this or seen this. This was just one of my sources, but then there's other people out there talking about it as a possibility as well. And so you have to wonder, like, what's going on here? Because I was also told initially that it was Bjergsen and Reckless together, right? Like, they were trying to go to the same spot no matter what. And so that makes you question whether or not Bjergsen is actually going to be staying too, right? And with some other rumors, which I'll get into here in a little bit, it makes me slightly worried that 0.1% of Bjergsen going elsewhere might be the case, because if he really wanted Reckless, right? Like, this is like a Double Lift situation where Double Lift really wanted Sword Art. He heard Sword Art wasn't coming, and so then he said, "Yeah, I'm not going to play with some young or unknown support." Said he had no interest, and retired. And I wonder if these negotiations as well are going to have an effect on what Bjergsen does with this team, and so I'm hesitant to see it being anything other than Reckless. Even Gafford, I believe I saw somebody talking about, I think it might have been Germ, had said something about Gafford, was talking about, Reckless not being a done deal either. And that doesn't surprise me. We're not at that point yet, guys. Like, I believe we're still about a month away. I think it's like 3 weeks away from actual free agency. I want to say it's November 16th. And, as we get closer and closer, there's going to be more rumors. There's going to be a lot more sources and different things saying different things. Because, listen, guys, this is an ever-evolving thing. Until somebody comes out and says, Bjergsen will be back with TSM, or Reckless will be traded or sent over or bought out by TSM. Hooney will be the TSM top laner. Even to a small degree. Probably this is the least likely thing to change is Spica being the jungler, right? Like, with the way that the LCS and the LEC and everything else works, rumors and stuff are going to happen. There's going to be changes and different things being talked about. And so I encourage everybody to be skeptical. There's nothing wrong with being skeptical of these rumors and these, different things that myself and other people are being told. But I will say, like, I bet you these are conversations that are being had, right? These are things that are being said. And so, while I still fully believe that Bjergsen, if he is going to return to pro play, will be a TSM member, there's a little part of me that worries that maybe Team BDSD specifically over in the LEC might be somebody who's going to give him a serious look, as we talked about even before I started getting into all these rumors and stuff. And that brings me to the final segment of today. Coaching options. Because another major thing that happened this week was that our good friend Curry is apparently looking for a team, or at least allowed to explore options even though his contract is not up. And so that surprises me. I really thought Curry would be the guy. If Bjergsen's stepping away, he's been with this team, especially if they're going to keep Hooney, Spica, and Sword Art, right, and Bjergsen, then there'd be only one new player, and he'd be able to coach this team, theoretically. It seems like Curry and Bjergsen are still friends, according to social media stuff, and I don't completely blame him. I really thought he might leave this offseason just more from the fact that Bjergsen was still the coach head coach at that time, and that Curry would want to prove that he can be a head coach again. But then when Bjergsen, rumors were stating that he was going to be playing again, right? And that coaching vacancy became, vacant. It became open. I figured Curry would be like, heck yeah, this is the team I want to coach, right? Because he clearly wants a head coaching job again. But now with this looking for team, that's another thing that kind of worries me a little bit, to be honest with you guys. Because now people can explore options and nothing happens. That happened with Bjergsen before. It could even be a freaking smokescreen by TSM. Truly, it could be. I wouldn't put it past them. Teams do this kind of stuff. And so I'm wondering, is this what's happening? Is Curry like just playing a smokescreen, or if he's leaving, then is he trying to go with Bjergsen somewhere else? Right? Is Bjergsen like? I don't know. Like, it's not a good thing to me for them to feel like Curry's not able to do the job if he's going to have four same players from last year. And they found success last year. They just need, I think, a different mid and a different AD carry. I think the support pieces around this team are very, very good. I think Huni can carry when he needs to, but he's able to play in the top lane now. Even Alfari, we've said this and said it and said it. Alfari said he's the second best laner in the LCS behind himself. And if Alfari leaves, which I've also heard is a possibility, then Huni would arguably be one of the best top laners in the LCS. I think Fudge still beats him out, but he'd be right there, right? And then you have Spica, who's great, obviously an MVP. Sword Art, who I think is only going to get better in his second year with TSM. You add in Bjergsen, and you add a strong AD carry and somebody like a Reckless, a Doggo, a Huang Fong, a Carzzy, by the way. Oh, yeah. If you didn't see that, Carzzy and Mad got into it last night after their loss, essentially. It was more of some co-owner or something talking crap about how Carzzy didn't play well, which he clearly doesn't know what he's watching, because I think Carzzy was probably one of the only consistent players on the entire team, all of Worlds, and pretty much almost this entire season, to be honest with you. So I don't understand that one, but he could be gone. Right, and then this Hansama stuff, like you add one of those 5 or 6 players in there at 80 carry, and even I guess tactical technically, and it's still an upgrade over Lost, and this team just looks better. But now it feels like it's being all thrown out the window. Like maybe they are just blowing everything up. Maybe it is just going to be Spica right now, and hopefully Bjergsen. But even still, I don't know why Curry wouldn't stay. So there's just questions there that I think we have to really, really consider, especially over these next 3 weeks, guys. Like, I hope you all understand there's going to be a ton of rumors. There's going to be a ton of sources. There's going to be a ton of actual probable signings for these players. I will let you know as I get stuff. Again, like, please don't attack me. I'm doing my best, and I know my sources are too. Things change. I think people have to understand that. Just because, again, Curry is stating that he's looking for a team does not mean that he is necessarily gone, right? And this brings up Grabs, too, who everybody's like talking about G2 Grabs. He's available. TSM should grab him. He has experience coaching this team. I don't know how much coaching he had to do on that team. I think this year might have been the first year he had to do it. I'm a little skeptical of Grabs, to be honest. I want to see him do it somewhere else before I'd want him on my team necessarily, but I guess that may be happening because according to, I believe it's Esports Maniacos, I could be totally butchering the name. I apologize ahead of time. It looks like Grabs could be signing with Team BDS. That is like the wild card team. That is the so unknown team. With them taking Schalke's spot over in the LEC, they might have a ton of money. They might not. We don't know. I'm hearing Nuclear Int over there, not from my sources, but just from what other people are saying. So that wouldn't surprise me either. But if he does end up coaching over there, right, then that means who are our coaching options in reality? And there's one name that I very much recently heard. I'm sure that he is being talked about. I just don't know that it will happen. But the name that I've been recently told, and the person who's taken up that question mark spot, is Cold. Cold from Team Liquid, who took over mid-season, helped this team figure it out, finish second again, and make their way to Worlds and perform relatively well. I have been a fan of Cold. I've even talked to him a couple times, but I got to know him once. Back when we first started Game House, I think it was 2016, I want to say, when he was on Team Enemy, actually, because I knew the owner and part owner of that team. And so, Cold is a super cerebral player. He's a jungler, so he sees the whole map. He's kind of played that way his whole career. And he was honestly solid when he played. Especially over in the LEC. I was still surprised to see him gone. I thought he had a little more left in the tank, but apparently not. Apparently he dropped out and became a coach, and again took over for Jat with TL, and his contract's up, which makes you wonder if TSM might actually consider him. Maybe apparently the players love him. He seems to be a pretty solid coach, and he's obviously now got Worlds experience. He has, 2 finals coaching, even as an assistant coach, and 1 as a head coach, experience. I just still don't know if I like it. I don't know if I'm going to be satisfied with anybody but Curry, to be honest with you, if Bjergsen is truly coming back. I'm just going to throw that out there right now, because with somebody like Cold, as I'm being told, right, as a potential option, I just don't know what he is yet as a coach. When you're given a team with the talent of TL, it's more hard to mess it up than it is to play well. He didn't mess it up, at least. That's good. If the rumors are true that the players really enjoyed playing for him and think that he's very good, that's another check. But he's been a coach for 1 split. He's been a head coach for 1 split. And I'm all about giving people chances. But again, this comes back to our very beginning conversations that we had weeks ago. What is this TSM team trying to be? And when you look at a coach like somebody like Cold, you have to wonder to yourself, do you really want basically a rookie coach coming in and coaching a team of veterans? Or do you want somebody who more knows how to facilitate these players, which is why Grabs was a potentially good option. I still didn't know how much I personally liked him, but he's able to manage personalities normally and understands how to let the players do their thing. But I don't know that Cold would do that. I don't know. I mean, there's just so many question marks surrounding a coach like him that they just make me wonder. I wish that TSM would have grabbed Reaper, honestly. I think if Bjergsen wasn't here, I think they probably would have actually talked to him. But, Reaper, I think, is a really, really smart coach and a good coach, and I think he pushes players out of their boundaries pretty regularly to make them better. Guys, I'm really struggling with this whole offseason right now. I mean, it is there are rumors all over the freaking place. There are so many decisions that are left to be made. I mean, C9 could blow up very easily. TL the same way. I mean, I was being told that Tactical was gone. Basically already, and that was like 2 days after they got off the freaking flight. Again, those are rumors. That's just what I'm being told. Until some of these things start coming true, I don't know that these are factual or not. But TSM have a lot of decisions to make, and to me the least amount of change that you can have with a team that performed well already, that is clearly a piece or 2 away from being a Worlds contending team, I would just go all out and I would keep Curry, I would get Bjergsen, and I would get Reckless. You have the money to. I just don't see why you don't do it. I think that Reckless just fits this style so well. I think Bjergsen can be that dynamic playmaker in the mid lane. He's had this year the coach. It just makes sense to me of a Curry coached, Hooney, Spica, Bjergsen, Reckless, Sword Art team. That just instantly screams championship level team, able to produce, and you don't have to worry too much about change because the only player they have to integrate is Reckless, and that dude can play anywhere. It doesn't matter, especially with his style of play. So I just don't. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? And there are 2 spots that were broken. They are fixing those spots. But the rest of it, I just don't know that you need to make those changes. Allow this team to stay together. I think one of the biggest, and I have very strong opinions about this particular thing, one of the biggest problems that LCS and LEC teams have, and a lot of lower tier LCK and LPL teams have, is that they just make too many changes. Sometimes you just need to let things stay. And I think Bjergsen was really good at that last year when he said, hey, I believe in this team. We're going to figure it out. And they realistically did. Sure, did they come up short? That happens, guys. I'm just going to tell you right now. They were 1 game away from making it to Worlds. They were 1 game away. If they win that game 2, if they close that out like they should have, I truly think that they end up sweeping C9. And I don't think that it's all that close. And I think they're on their way to Worlds, and I think they would have had a chance to be in the finals. I seriously believe that. And so when you have a team that's that close and when you have the restrictions that we have in the LCS, I say the least amount of change that you can possibly make to a team that's probably good is good. I mean, look at all these teams right here that have made it to Worlds. Damwon have had the exact same team for like 3 seasons, essentially. Nuggery left, but they kept most of their core pieces together. That's a winning team. T1, obviously, they've had Faker for a while. Gumayushi's new, Carry is new, but the rest of the team has been basically the same for at least the last 2 seasons. Gen G has had mostly similar players. We've seen BDD. They've brought in people like Clid, but they've generally had Gala has been there for I think 2 seasons. And even EDG to a certain degree. Scout has been there for a pretty long time. The addition of Viper, I think, has obviously helped this team out, but it's just the good teams. Yeah, like, of course, it's because they have good players, but sometimes you just also have to let the team develop and really come together. And when teams can basically communicate without communicating, when they can mostly communicate well, it sounds so stupid, sorry. As we saw at the beginning with TSM, right? Their biggest problem was that they were over-communicating because they didn't know what the other players on their team needed to know and what they didn't need to know. As you play together more, you just innately know things. You just understand a style, something that people are going to play. Going to use a quick sports ball reference here, guys. NFL, my Bengals, they're playing so well. They kicked the crap out of the Ravens last week. And a big reason why is because Joe Burrow, our quarterback, knows Jamar Chase, our wide receiver, our star wide receiver. They know each other. They know their body language. They know how to do things without having to communicate about it. They just know it innately. It is a sense that they have. And it was said in a press conference last night. It was like, hey, I see his body language. I know what he's looking for. I know what he's going to do here. I know we've done all these reps together. And when League of Legends teams have good players, if they do reps together and they continue to grow together, guess what? They're going to be better. And so I just really want to see them do that. I want to see them stick with most of this team, bring in the 2 necessary pieces to win, and one that's really not much of a change at all considering he was just your coach. And go out and frickin' win, man. They can do it with that team. Now, not everything is in their control, but I can't imagine they couldn't throw an extra, $250,000 or something to G2 to make this Reckless deal happen. If he truly wants to come to TSM. And I can't imagine that Bjergsen's going to say no to a team of Huni, Spica, Reckless, and Sword Art with him in the middle. And I can't imagine that Curry would say no to coaching that team. He has experience with FlyQuest as a head coach. He learned a lot with Bjergsen. He knows the players. They are comfortable with him. He is comfortable with them. Andy, if you're listening to this, just keep it simple. I'm not going to call you stupid because you're not. I think you're very intelligent. But just keep it simple. Go spend your money, because that's what we're doing. We're not restarting a team. That's where I'd be like, bring in Cold. Give me all the young players in Spica and bring me Cold, and let's go do it. And then there's still the very, very last, very dark corner of my brain that worries that Bjergsen and TSM have had a falling out. And maybe that's where all these changes and these different rumors are coming from. But I'm not the only one being told that Bjergsen's coming back to TSM, very likely. Or it's very likely to happen. So we'll have to see. But yeah, with that, it's almost the end of the episode. I got one more thing for y'all. We are going to be doing, well, I am going to be doing a jersey giveaway for specifically the Talking TSM people here, fans. For those of you who can't see on the screen, go to the YouTube channel, check it out. I will be posting this graphic later myself on my Twitter account at TGHRobertHaynes. But here's how you enter into this giveaway. And I'm going to be, doing it randomly and everything myself. I'll basically be taking all the names and everything that I see and entering them into a wheel and spinning the wheel, and the first person to win it gets it. But for you to enter, you have to do all these things. You have to be following me at TGHRobertHaynes on Twitter. You have to be following the Game House at TGH Esports on Twitter. You got to join the Talking TSM Discord, which I will leave a link in the description below. I will also, leave a link over on Twitter as well. But you have to join the Talking TSM Discord. You have to subscribe to our TGH YouTube channel. And you have to leave a comment on this video about your favorite TSM player of all time. If you do all those 6 things, then you will be entered into the giveaway. Now, I don't know. I think I'm going to give this about 2 weeks. I want to let you guys have a chance to enter into this. Some of you, may forget or may not, recognize it right away. But this is to celebrate 1 year. I want to get you guys something. I want to give something away, and just truly thank you all for, being a part of Talking TSM, and supporting me as I've been doing this and listening to me rant on and on and on and on about this team. Hopefully it's been good. Hopefully you all have enjoyed it. You seem to be coming back, so you might just be laughing at me every time. I don't know, but I'm very grateful for it. And I love doing this. I really, really do. My fandom for TSM has never been stronger and just, I don't know, just more enjoyable, truly. Outside of when we won the LCS championship last year. That was probably the most fun I ever had watching TSM play. But yeah, I'm beyond grateful. I hope you guys will enter in. Remember, do all those following on Twitter. Go subscribe on the YouTube channel. Go make sure you comment. Like, the number one thing I'm going to be checking is for comments in the YouTube comments on this video. Okay? So even if you are a listener on, Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen and get your podcasts, make sure you go to the TGH YouTube channel and go and do your comments. That's how I will start with all my checking for this giveaway. So, yeah. With that, also while you're on the YouTube channel, please take a second to like, subscribe, and comment. Again, hit the bell icon so you don't miss another episode or any of our other great content that's been coming out over there. Terry and Ben have been doing a great job with different sports and esports videos. We've had a lot of Pokemon Unite content very recently coming out. Make sure you give those a look if you are planning on playing the game. Again, I want to continue doing this, so just the continued support on all podcasting platforms means the world to me. You can share this with your friends. Go follow me at TGHRobertHaynes. I'm going to be putting out more rumors and stuff out there. Just head to thegamehouse.com for all of our different content. The off-season is going to be crazy. You should and can expect a lot of different content coming out from myself and some of our other writers. So go give that a look. With that, Thanks for tuning in. This show comes out every Monday during the off-season and is exclusively for your TSM earholes. I'm Robert Haynes, and this has been Talking TSM. See y'all next week.